welcome to a whole new episode of the Central Florida High School Scoreboard Show. I'm Dan LaForest. That is Baylin Trujillo and AJ Brooks. Guys, we are officially, as of right now, halfway through the regular season of 2024. We are 5.5 weeks in of an 11-week schedule. Baylin, how are you, my man?
Doing great, man. Had a lot of football the last week. Several games on a Thursday night, a Tuesday night, Friday night. Man, we've been blessed with a great week of football. We still have more coming up. Hopefully, this hurricane. Shout out to everybody that's going to be in this predicament. We did not see this coming, so stay safe. Obviously, schools are canceled tomorrow, Thursday, so we'll see how Friday goes and plays out for the games. A lot of games are probably going to be pushed to either Saturday or Monday. But regardless, we had a lot of football, man, this last week, so I'm excited to talk about it, Dan.
Yeah, we did. AJ Brooks, the coach, man. How are you doing this week, brother?
Man, I'm doing good. I can't complain. I
tell you what, we are live on YouTube, on Twitter, and on Facebook right now. And guys, you're right. Week 5 brought a lot of excitement. We had some big games, and let's roll right into it because we have a lot to talk about what potentially can be week 6. And absolutely, I think Baylin really hit it. Is our thoughts and prayers go to all of our friends on the Gulf Coast. This is a monster of the storm. Obviously, schools are shut down Thursday. We'll see what we possibly get out of this to see whether or not schools will be open on Friday. We already have a game that we know of that has moved to Saturday, but we're still making up games from week 1 and that washout in week 1. So welcome to Florida. All right, so let's get right into it, guys. Let's get into our first game. And it was our Thursday night game last week. Our number 2 team, Jones, travels to Osceola, and they squeaked one out, Baylin, 34-28.
Yeah, this was amazing. I mean, for both programs, this game was a lot. Now, guys, we read the warning sign before the show. This is just a show. It's fun. Obviously, I want every program to be great. I want every program to be successful. This is just something to have fun and just talk about high school sports. So the fact that I was not allowed on the sideline, come on, guys, we're not in 5th grade, but that's another shot for another day. But I got to actually enjoy the view from the bleachers and watch the Darion Coleman show. That's pretty much what I watched all night because in the second half, they ran the ball one time, and that was it. Everything was in the air. Darion almost threw 500 yards, went berserk, and was a big reason why they came back. Cowboys had a strong lead. They were up 28-14. And it looked completely in control in the third quarter. And then it was the air raid show. And Darion Coleman put the team on his back. Coach Will dialed it up. And, I mean, I didn't see a drop ball unless it hit the turf. But, I mean, it was beautiful to watch from where I was because I was not allowed on the sidelines because of my predictions. But, again, another conversation. Jones did what they had to do. They came away victorious. Osceola played very well. I mean, I think this program might not lose a game the rest of the year. I think they're finally clicking in that offense. Swint looked really good. I believe UCF's head coach is in attendance. I did see him, Gus Malzone, so I thought that was really cool. A lot of attention was on this game. Again, it was a Thursday night. But credit to Jones for coming back and staying composed. I think that speaks very, very well of where that program is because they could have easily just laid down being punched in the mouth early, and they didn't. They stayed focused, and they came back and won this game in overtime, and it was just special to watch, especially what Darion Coleman did on Thursday night.
AJ, Baylin makes a good point. Osceola is we've seen them kind of grow and kind of gel here over the last several weeks. Their schedule's very favorable heading forward. And to see Tavion Swint come back after being injured a few weeks ago to rush for 122 yards against that Jones defense, pretty impressive.
Yeah, Chick is special talent. He played very well. I think he was trying to show Coach Gus what he could do next year. But, yeah, Osceola had this game, honestly. And if it wasn't for Jones Tigers fighting tooth and nail to the end, actually, Osceola had a chance to end the game. They could have kicked the field goal with about 30-some-odd seconds to go. But on third down, they went for it. It was 3rd and 6. They got about 5 yards, so it was 4th and 1. Excuse me. And they did not have enough time, I guess, to run the field goal unit on, so they spiked the ball on 4th down, and that was a very controversial play because they were inside their own 20-yard line at that point. But they do have they do look good. I know they'll get tested one more time at least. They play Lake Wales, so the Lake Wells matchup that'll be an interesting game for them.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Jones moves on, and we'll talk about them just a little bit here later on in this. At 4-0, Osceola now at 3-2, and again, a lot of favor for them moving forward here. All right, guys, I got a text from Coach Jones at Tavares. He said, "I want you to thank your guys for picking the Villages." Tavares takes out the Buffaloes 22-0, Baylin.
Yeah, this was funny. I mean, my DMs, it's hilarious. I love it because it gives attraction to the viewers. And again, this is why I love what I do. And I know I'm kind of crazy when it comes to these predictions, but again, if I get the interaction that I'm getting, especially on social media and my DMs, I mean, I love that because it makes the sports fun, and it gives something to look forward to and talk about. Tavares definitely proved us wrong. We picked we picked for them, and they did not come through with the game we did. So I wasn't going to make that same mistake, and I clearly did. So I just might as well never predict a Tavares game again because it seems like whatever team I pick, the other team wins. But a great job to them. They beat them on their new turf, brought a victory back to Tavares, and they're 4-1. And again, that one blemish was a game that I did not think they were going to lose, and they did. And so Tavares is rolling. I believe they have easily one or two of the best player in the entire Central Florida. I mean, he is racking up offers. I believe he got a Maryland offer today. The kid's just unbelievable. And I'm excited to see what this team does moving forward.
Yeah, AJ, how about Tyler Davis? 24 carries, 107 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I apologize to Tavares. I let the South Lake loss, and I overreacted. I should have picked Tavares, even with the Villages having Jonathan Harding, who's committed to Memphis, if I'm not mistaken. I think Isaiah Williams is the best player on the field. And then you mentioned Tyler Davis. He's one of the most underrated running backs in Central Florida. Very consistent running back. So I apologize, but that's a good win for Tavares for sure.
Yeah, I'm purposely giving Tyler Davis a little love here, but Isaiah did have 3 carries for over 80 yards coming out of the Wildcat.
3 carries for 110 and a touchdown.
I tell you what, that run and pound game with Tavares right now, it's going to be interesting. You know, they still got Leesburg coming up. I know they have Eustis this week. So, all right, congratulations, Bulldogs. Let's move on. How about Seminole? Another squeaker. It seems like Seminole is finding ways to win games, especially at the last minute. I texted Coach Calhoun over the weekend. I'm like, cardiac kids, man. 41-38 over Lake Wales, Baylin.
Yeah, awesome. Lake quarterback Bryce did something that I have not seen him do on tape yet. Obviously, I'm trying to get him recruited right now. A special talent transfer. But, he ran 3 touchdowns on Seminole. I don't remember the last time a quarterback ran 3 touchdowns on a team like Seminole, but he did that. He gave him a chance at the end there. But if you look at the score, it looks a lot closer than what it was. Seminole dominated this game from the beginning. I believe they were up as much as 21 at one point. Michael Clayton lit it up. This was a big breakout game for Michael, so it's really good to see that and have that offense click. I spoke to Coach Gator at the USF Miami game this weekend. At USF, and he was excited to see this team finally starting to roll. And he kind of alluded to what we talked about on the show and how they were winning by big margins, but they weren't clicking. So once they start clicking, we're going to really see this offense put up big numbers, and that's exactly what we saw. Special teams played a big part in this, though. I mean, it really separated them from Lake Wales early. I mean, Lake Wales would score, boom, kickoff return. Lake Wales would go back down, score, boom, kickoff return. So it just sucked out the life of Lake Wales early when they were trying to make a little comeback here. And eventually that was the deciding factor in a 3-point win for Seminole. But Seminole continues to knock off the big boys. Lake Wales lost. I think that was their first loss in about 4 or 5 years in a regular season. So that's a massive, massive win for Seminole to knock off Lake Wales.
No doubt about it. AJ Brooks, Baylin talked about Michael Clayton, but when you got a wide receiver that averages over 20 yards a reception, crazy. How about Xavier Tucker? 5 receptions, 122 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with Xavier Tucker, certified dog family. But this kid is dynamic. He runs good routes, very athletic. 5 catches, 122 yards, 2 touchdowns. Also had a kick return for a touchdown. So he had a hell of a day. But I want to give a shout out to Juan Burchell as well. Juan had a crazy day. He had 9 tackles, 1 interception, a PBU, a forced fumble, a fumble recovery, and a blocked field goal. So, that's just a complete team, and I think they have one of the best special team units in the state, and it's clear.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And congratulations to the Seminoles, 4-0 heading into this next week. Guys, we knew this was going to be a big game. Ocoee edges out Boone, 35-31, Baylin.
Yeah, we both picked Ocoee in this game. I'm surprised. I'm not surprised that Ocoee won. What I'm surprised is the fact they gave up 31 points. I did not expect that. But again, Boone's offense is dynamic. They have a guy named Isaiah Mizell, which you see right there. Had a big game, finally a breakout game for him. We haven't really talked about him much. We always mention his name, but I'm talking about as a performer. He put on a good show this weekend, but obviously it was not enough to beat Ocoee. Ocoee, obviously one of the best defensive teams in the area with Michael McClendon. Probably had another crazy statistical game. We don't see the stats on here, but I'm sure he did. But
22 tackles.
Yeah, crazy, right? So again, I was more shocked that this game was 35-31. I would have probably assumed it would have been like a 14-10. But again, it just shows you how explosive Boone is offensively. But again, Ocoee scoring 35 points. That's pretty impressive as well. So this was a great game. Probably one that a lot of fans were excited to be at, especially if you're Ocoee. But wow, what a good game.
Yeah, and AJ, this is a guy we've been seeing. Like, we don't talk enough. Jamarian Robinson, man. This is the second week in a row he's had big games. It's crazy when we start seeing stats, right? And we have so many big games. How do you pick a dude of the week? 25 carries, 255 yards, and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Jamarian Robinson, he is a special talent at running back. He transferred a couple times, and a couple coaching changes that was warranted a transfer. So he's found a home here at Ocoee. He has the talent. I think he is a big-time running back, so I'm not surprised by the stat line. But, yeah, this is a good win for them. Josh G, he also had 7 catches for 160 yards and a touchdown. So if Ocoee's offense could start putting up points like this on a regular basis, this is going to be a real dangerous team because we know that their defense is loaded. But at the same time, Boone, they had a good showing. Sam Johnson, he threw for over 300 yards. So when you can get 170 to Isaiah, which I think is the best deep threat in the state, that makes for a good game.
Yeah, Isaiah Mizell absolutely has been turning on the burners here the last few weeks. Sam Johnson really is coming alive as our quarterback. But Ocoee moves on, man, 3-2, and it's going to be interesting to see what that momentum looks like here halfway through the season as we start taking a look at that playoff run. All right, Apopka goes over to Edgewater. Guys, it was not pretty for the Blue Darters. 35-0 Edgewater, Baylin.
Wow. I mean, I know we predicted Edgewater, and I knew they were trying to make a statement, especially after we call, that game against Jones and the whole talk about the refs and whatnot, to prove a statement to say, hey, guys, let's not forget Edgewater's who they are. 35-0 is the most impressive victory over Apopka this year by any team that's played them, because every team that they played has been tough. It's been not an easy win. They came in this matchup 3-1, but all 3 of those wins, were under a touchdown. And so, except for their blowout win that they had against, I believe it was Pine Ridge.
It was Westport.
Okay, that's right. So Westport. Again, rivalry game, could be a little chippy. What I tell you guys last week before I ended that prediction, I said Carter Emanuel's going to have a massive game. I mean, look at those stats right there. He ran for 195, or he threw for 195 yards and a touchdown, but also had 3 rushing touchdowns. Special performance. Finally, the breakout game that Carter needed under that offense with Coach Duke. He runs it perfectly, especially when you have a threat like their running back, Josh Perry. You're going to have to account for both these guys. And then you have Prime in the mix as well. That's a scary load, especially for a defense that's known to stop their run. I mean, they play a lot of cover 4. Those guys are playing 8 yards off the box. And not a lot of teams can really run against Apopka. And it looked like Edgewater had no issues there, Edgewater had no issues there all night Friday night, winning 35-0. They upped their win last year, which I thought was impressive, 27-0. Yeah, they said, I'll give you another touchdown on that, 35-0 this year, Dan. Edgewater, that's still a scary team, guys, even though they squeaked into our top 10.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And I do want to give a shout out. Carter Emanuel, Orlando Touchdown Club Player of the Week. He'll be coming to the club on Monday night. AJ, Apopka 3-2. It's not time for a panic mode for obvious reasons, right? we always talk about Apopka in the second half of the season, but I expect some changes to be made by Coach Rolson.
I mean, I'm normally I'm with you, Dan. But when I look at the back half of their schedule, they still have West Orange, who I think is a very underrated, talented team. Then they have Cocoe, and then they still have Osceola, and then they have Madison County. So I just don't see the schedule being favorable for them. I love the program; it's a diehard program, but this is just one of those years, in my opinion, where the things just aren't clicking. And Edgewater was able to take advantage of it. Edgewater is an explosive team, and I think Cardi Emmanuel is showing the dynamic as far as him being a runner a little more this year than we've seen in the years past, which I like to see. But hopefully things can turn around for Apopka, but the schedule that's a rough schedule. I mean, I don't know what you expect.
Yeah, and I'll be honest with you. I've watched Carter for the last few years, right? I watched this film here, and the amount of poise that I saw with him in the pocket, what he did, it was when he took off and ran the ball, it was like the only option. I mean, it was just something that he had to do. But that poise and making those decisions, even throwing the ball on the run, he just looked very comfortable, especially in this game. Very proud of Carter and the Eagles. And the Eagles move on now at 4-1. So our 3-2, excuse me. All right, TFA continues to roll. Our number 5 team takes out a very good Delray Beach Atlantic Eagle team, 41-28. That was the game I was at this week, guys. Baylin?
Yeah, another ranked team in the state goes down to TFA. I mean, at this point, they have the best resume in the entire city. It's not even close. I don't like. I mean, again, the only area team they played so far is Edgewater, which is a massive, massive win. I'm really intrigued with the Seminole game coming up. But man, I mean, the First Academy. How much more praise do they want from us, other than ranking them in our 1, 2, or 3 spot? Which again, I think those other teams are well deserved to be there. But TFA is making a strong case to say, hey, we are definitely the talk of the town, and we are definitely able to compete with anybody in this area. So, I mean, this was a shocker. I mean, again, 41-28. It does look a little lopsided and a little close at the same time, but they dominated this football game. I believe, Dan, you were there. You kept texting us. You're saying, yeah, TFA is the real deal. There is no more question marks with this football team. You saw it for yourself. AJ and I saw it for ourselves. I mean, this team is complete. And now Solomon Georges is playing great football week in and week out. He is taking advantage, even though he's lower in stature. He plays big time. So, it's very exciting times for TFA right now, and they continue to be the talk of the town, whether it's negative or positive, but everybody's still talking about them.
Yeah, and AJ, I tell you what was impressive to me was the defense as well. I want to give a big shout out to Devin Jackson, man. He had 6 or 7 tackles, had 2 big interceptions, AJ.
Yeah, Devin Jackson, he's a big-time safety, SEC caliber type safety, Big Ten type. When I say Big Ten, I'm talking like Ohio State, Michigan, one of those Big Ten. But like he's a big-time athlete. Blaze Jones also chipped in, had 6 tackles and 2 sacks. But TFA, from top to bottom, they're one of the most, if not the most talented roster in Central Florida. So I'm not surprised by this. They continue to just gain momentum, gelling more as a team as the season goes on. And like Baylin mentioned, that matchup between them and Seminole is going to be crazy.
Yeah, and they've got another big game with Rabun Gap coming down from Georgia here in 2 weeks as well. That's going to be very interesting. All right, so the Royals move on to 5-0. Guys, this is a little surprising here. Eau Gallie, not that Eau Gallie won. I mean, listen, we've been talking about Eau Gallie quite a bit in the last few weeks. But they took out the Titans at OC University 40-7, Baylin.
This was the game that really solidified what we've been talking about when it comes to Eau Gallie. They made a statement here. Now, again, if it was a close game, it was one of those weird mainland games where they played in the Kickoff Classic and it's like a 10-7 overtime. Okay, OC University is still pretty good. No, this was ugly. This was an ugly win. OC University isn't probably as good as we thought they were, or they just got manhandled and dominated by a great Eau Gallie team. And I think that's more of the case here. I think Malachi Walters is still an explosive talent. I believe they put a lot on his shoulders to be really good offensively. But on the other side, you got weapons at Eau Gallie. Joseph Allen, one of the most stocked rising quarterbacks in the 27 class, got over 8 Division I offers. Kids playing crazy. 40-7 is a dominating win, guys. No matter how much we want to look at this, Eau Gallie came to play. They're still 5-0 Gallie. We're going to keep saying the O until they get beat, which I don't think is happening. I like the sound of that. But they just keep rolling over teams, Dan, and this was a big statement win that they needed.
No, I don't disagree. I think this is more about what Eau Gallie did do and not what University didn't do. I mean, I love what University's been going. Coach Roberts has done a really good job with them, and they got a long season. Remember, they're 4-1. AJ, Mason Moore had 9 tackles for University. But let's talk about Tay Welch. 15 carries for 138 yards and a touchdown.
Yeah, Tay Welch, that dude, man. He had 217 all-purpose yards, 2 touchdowns. Chipped in with about 60 some odd yards through the air. Kid's dynamic, man. I mean, anytime you see a player wearing number 1, you kind of already know, like, man, he must be good. But yeah, Eau Gallie, EG, that's a real team. I know Coco is saying this, saying that, but man, I don't know, man. I would love to see this matchup. I know they don't play this year. They played last year, and Coco beat them convincingly. But I think that EG is a much better team this year. Their defense is legit because OC University, they scored over 40 points every game this season. And they went into EG and they were not able to do anything whatsoever.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I love what Coach Sands has got going on with the Commodores. And again, they move on to 5-0. All right, guys.
Told you.
Did you really expect this? I mean,
I told you. Didn't I tell y'all? I told you it better not be close.
Coco took the trip to Venice, and wow, what a shootout. 54-51. Coco, that's got to be heartbreaking knowing that you put up 51 points and you lose. But listen, we both know the quality of what this game really was. Baylin.
Heartbreaking. I thank the Lord that this game was actually streamed live on YouTube. So anybody could have watched this spectacular football game, like a state championship environment. My goodness. But I'm telling you what, man, this is why we need to have some eye tests for the retirement community. Okay. Because for them to get out there and see what they saw, 2 illegal onside kicks recovered by Venice that did not go 10 yards. It is clearly on YouTube. You can go watch it yourself. They gave them the ball, which, by the way, Coco was up 28-14 at this time. So they tied the game up. That was not good for the momentum swing. And then at the end there, it was, to call the penalties that they were calling on the last 2 drives for Venice offensively, my goodness. AJ literally said it last week on the show. You don't want a tight game in Venice, trust me, because there's a lot of other factors that play into Venice. I don't even know honestly the last time Venice lost at home because of that issue. And I think it was to Coco 2 years ago. But my goodness, hello, 54-51. Yeah, granted, these are 2 explosive offenses, but I definitely expected Coco's defense to not give up 54 points. I'll just say that. Now, Venice is ranked number 2, according to On3 recruits, number 2 in the state of Florida. They're rightfully so. Winston Watkins is the real deal. That's the receiver I talked about last week on the show. I believe he scored about 2 or 3 touchdowns in this football game and got an interception, I believe, on the last play of the game on a Hail Mary. My goodness, I can't speak highly. Brady Hart, the real deal. 600 yards he almost threw against Venice. 600 yards. Unbelievable. Javon Boggs continues to show why he's the best receiver in the entire state of Florida. He gives me Jeremiah Smith vibes, not the explosiveness, but just the way he runs his routes, the way he finishes plays, the way he catches the football. He never drops the ball. He's unguardable. He's elite as it comes, guys. And so, this was a heartbreaking loss. I literally watched it. 4th and 1 on the 30-yard line. The kid breaks a 15-yard run up the middle on 4th and 1 on their own 30, gets a face mask penalty. Next play was a little inside fade route to the sideline. They catch it, then they kick a field goal for the win. Yeah, just heartbreaking, man. I just feel for those guys, but what a great matchup, and great job, Coco, for fighting. I believed in you, and I still do.
Yeah, AJ, I tell you what, he talked a lot. He mentioned Javon Boggs, but listen, 10 receptions, 253 yards, and 3 scores. He had roughly half, a little bit more than half of the yards that Brady threw for.
Yeah, I mean, you talking about Mr. Florida. Like, honestly, he's making the case to be back-to-back Mr. Florida because the stat line is just ridiculous. You look and see at 253 yards, but he had 138 at halftime. So it's not like he just came out in the second half and coasted. He put up another $120 in the second half. I still think that Cocoa is one of the best teams in the state. Quality team. I just know in that area, you just don't want to be in close games in that area. But at the same time, I will give Venice some credit. Dorian Irvin Jones, sophomore running back, he ran for 226. So Cocoa, there is some things that they have to improve on. And I know that they will. And they're just getting ready for postseason. So we'll see how the season shakes up for them.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I think Coco's schedule is extremely favorable to get right back to where they wanted to do, focused on that state championship. But wow, what a test. And the question I have is Venice going to return that favor and come to Cocoa here in the near future?
I don't know. They smart.
Every time Venice comes to Cocoa, guess what? They lose.
Yeah, we're gonna have to see how that plays out. With but congratulations to the Indians and Coach Peacock. I mean, wow, what a game! A lot of points there. All right, I gotta say it. DP Baylin. They take care of business, 26-21 against Lake Mary. I don't think you guys saw this at all.
Well, I'll give AJ credit. Okay, I'm gonna say this because no one's gonna believe AJ. So if it comes from my mouth, it was the truth. AJ met me at midfield. We're watching warm-ups, and literally looked at me and said, "Baylin, I think I'm changing my pick." And I said, "Bro, what are you talking about? Why?" He goes, "I'm looking at how they're warming up. I see the size. I believe this team is gonna beat Lake Mary tonight." And I said, "Nah, you ain't gonna do that. You already said on the show." And he said, "Baylin, I'll go on video right now and say it right before the game that Lake Mary is going to lose Dr. Phillips." I still told him, it is what it is. We said on the show, but he was correct. And I didn't see it coming, to be honest with you. Again, I was only going based off the last 3 weeks. They should have beaten the best team in the state, in my opinion, in Lakeland. They destroyed Cardinal Gibbons. They beat a solid Osceola team. There were so many things working in Lake Mary's favor for them not to lay an egg at Dr. Phillips. And now let's turn the tide. Dr. Phillips is the real deal. That is not the same football team that we saw last year. That is not the team that was losing close games last year, couldn't figure out offensively through midseason. They are clicking both on offense and defense. Stanley Anderson, phenomenal football game. One of the best I've ever seen him live in person do. I believe he threw 2 touchdowns and also had a rushing touchdowns as well. He obviously was the big difference maker, kind of for 21 points of their 26. He threw both their touchdowns to the same player. And he got the winning pick. Yeah. So that kid, number 4, what's his name again, AJ?
Mikhail.
Yeah, unbelievable talent. I think he's one of the best in this area at receiver as well. He's very underrated. He should be going power 4 without question with his size and his ability to track the football. He made one of the craziest circus catches right before halftime that actually put DP in a position to be in the game, because if they don't score there, Lake Mary's going to probably go up 2 scores before halftime, and they ended up not tying it because they missed their extra point, but it was 14-13.5 because of his one-handed circus catch in the back of the end zone. But man, what a great game. Lake Mary, there was no creativity. It was almost like watching Pop Warner. I don't know. It just wasn't the Lake Mary that I'm used to seeing, with how creative Coach Donnelly is offensively and how explosive they are in the run game, which sets up the passing game for Noah Grubbs. It was one of those games where it's there, but it's just flat, And I was a little bit disappointed as a fan watching this game from an offensive standpoint for Lake Mary, but I was so excited to see Coach Sapp's offense roll with Stanley Anderson and to see that Dr. Phillips is kind of back, because, Rodney Wells said it to Coach Chris Hayes after the game. Yeah, we're back, baby. And if you didn't know, you know now. This is a signature win for Dr. Phillips in this season. Honestly, looking at their schedule, it's pretty favorable, guys, and they might go undefeated and be kind of the old DP standard that we're used to seeing, especially when I was playing.
Yeah, no doubt about it, AJ. I tell you what, this is a pretty impressive win for DP, no question.
Yeah, it's a very impressive win for DP. After I thought about it, I knew it was a close game last year, and DP was on the road. So being at home, and I just thought these guys they're a year older. They went through those struggles last year. And I thought if the defense could contain Lake Mary just a little bit, that they would have a shot. That's why I went to Baylin pregame. But they played a great game. I thought that one of the additions to the team, Tavion Greaves, He transferred over from Olympia. He had Ocoee, he had a great game. He every time he got a kick return, he gave them the ball in plus territory. So it helped DP's offense. But as you mentioned, Mikel, he had 2 touchdown catches, an interception that was the game-sealing interception. And, DPs, I knew that for real. So, yeah, I love what I see out of those boys.
All right, congratulations. The Panthers now 4-0. All right, guys. One last game we didn't get to talk about setting up, but it was a makeup game for week 1. Winter Park at Jones played last night. Jones wins that, guys, 22-0, Baylin.
Yeah, I was there at that football game. I missed you guys there. Especially I love when AJ's there because we talk good football throughout the game, what we see. But to be honest with you guys, Jones is really every game is going to be Jones versus Jones, in my opinion. And they were battling themselves. It was just uncharacteristic. Saw a lot of argument on the sidelines, just things that we never normally see from Jones. Kids being uncoachable, just making mental error mistakes. Missing blocks, just little things like that. It was just weird watching them because I go to a lot of Jones games dating back to 8 years ago when Coach Will took over the program, and I've never seen them play that flat ever in any football game, whether it was a playoff game, a big game against Cocoa, or whatever it is. I mean, I've never seen them play just flat, and that's just the feel that I got. Nothing really worked down the run game. The running back, he had about 188 yards, 2 touchdowns. Played really well, but he also had a lot of carries. They ran a lot last night, tried to control the clock. But I could just tell it was just very frustrating environment for Jones. And on the flip side, Winter Park kept hurting themselves. They had a turnover late that was in a crucial drive. The quarterback, William Jackson came in a couple of times, and then you had Grant trying to get comfortable with the game. And I believe both definitely played well in respect of what I saw. But Winter Park just didn't have enough to get over the hump. They also had some key penalties. They had a touchdown called back from a holding call that could have really changed the way the game was going. But Jones ended up winning 22-0. They just had much more talent on the field that, just to get away with the win in a shutout fashion. But I know there maybe the pressure of trying to play so hard because they wanted this game so bad, that might have played an effect because of all the trash talk about them not wanting to schedule Jones and forfeit the game, blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, they got it in. It was a Tuesday night, and Jones came with the victory. But, I was excited because especially after what Darian did last Thursday with the air raid show, I was expecting something like that. But Coach Will went straight on the ground game. And like I said, the running back had a great game, and he was really the difference in this football game.
AJ, a lot of talent on that Winter Park roster. I wasn't at the game, so I heard that actually Aiden Pouncey had a touchdown called back as well.
That's what I was talking about. Yeah, he was the one that scored. It was like he took out like a bubble for like 70 yards for a touchdown, but it was called back.
All right, guys, we're gonna move on. I'm sorry. Go ahead, AJ.
No, you just look at Winter Park. It's a 7A school in Florida. They got talent too. I think Jones won 22-0. It was an ugly victory. They're just not clicking yet, honestly, but they still finding a way to win. So that's the most important thing.
No doubt about it. We got a whole half season left. We're going to have a lot of games to talk about and favorable schedules. Well, guys, we're going to take – go ahead.
My bad. Dimitri Pryor, freshman DB for Jones. He had another interception. I think that's 5. A true freshman – the truth. That's all I can say. Sorry,
14 years old.
14. It's a baby.
All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we got our dudes of the week and our new top 6. You're watching our top 10. Central Florida High School Scoreboard Show. We'll be back right after this. All right, welcome back to the Central Florida High School Scoreboard Show. I'm Dan LaForest. That is Baylin Trujillo, who left his camera, and AJ Brooks. There's Baylin. All right, let's get right into our dudes of the week, and let's talk about our offensive dude, Baylin. Darian Coleman, junior quarterback at Jones, 467 yards, the Miami commit, and 4 touchdowns.
Unbelievable performance. There's a interesting stat here. I believe he threw actually 488 yards, 12 yards away from 500, 4 touchdowns, completely put the game on his back. I mean, it was a special thing to watch because obviously I trained the kid. I've seen, all the talent that he has in that arm, but to put it on display against Osceola, who had a former Miami commit who just flipped to Auburn. I mean, it was head to head, and Darion literally played like he was like Cameron Ward out there. I mean, it was unbelievable to watch the touch that he had on the ball, the placement, the accuracy, the deep ball, the touch. I mean, there was nothing that he did not put on display for everybody to see that he is who he is as an elite 4-star quarterback committed to Miami. And Shannon Dawson was texting me throughout the game. I was giving him updates, sending him some clips. I mean, he literally said himself, we have the next Cam Ward and Darion Coleman, and we still have 2 years before we see him. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen in his future. But to throw 4 touchdowns against Osceola, when's the last time a quarterback did that? I mean, Noah Grubbs played them. He had a good game, only threw, I believe, 1 touchdown. They play some big-time competition. Darion went out there and made it look easy, AJ, and you were right there to watch it. I mean, it was like pop, 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 touchdown. It was unbelievable to watch. And Dan, I mean, you without even question, literally after the game, Texas said he's our dude of the week. There's no way to put that type of performance and not be the dude of the week. It'd be crazy. So great job, Darion Coleman. Go Canes, and I love you.
Yeah, I tell you what, AJ, the thing that intrigues me the most about Darion is this. He is ranked as a dual threat quarterback, but he never has to run the ball. I mean, we never see rushing stats really in most of these games. He is a very poised pocket passer.
No, I mean, we be honest. They did that whole dual threat thing. It's whatever, but this is a true quarterback who has the ability to get outside the pocket if he needs to. But he's not looking to run. He literally has the best arm talent I've seen out of a high school quarterback, and he is trying to show it off every single play. And the comparison to Cam Ward is like spot on. Like, honestly, if Darion was 6'4", it would be crazy. It would be a 5-star, like it would. But God blessed him with what he has. I think he's perfect. The kid is special, man. He's special.
No doubt about it. Congratulations to Darion Coleman, our Influencer Council Offensive Dude of the Week. Guys, let's talk about our defensive dude. The Influencer Council defensive dude is AJ Foreman, the senior defensive back at Eau Gallie. 18 tackles and 2 sacks, Baylin.
Unbelievable. Special performance, have 18 tackles. That's crazy, especially for one football game, 2 sacks. I know this caught AJ's eye, especially talking about our dudes of the week. So great job. I love Eau Gallie. I believe he plays a big part in that defense and why they manhandled OC University. But doing something like that against a quality opponent is why you win dude of the week. I mean, if it was against a team that they should have beat, it probably wasn't as impressive, even though 18 tackles is a lot. But to do that against a team that is that explosive in OC University, that is massive for AJ Forehand. So great job to him. And I believe he's also committed too as well to play some D1 football.
Yeah, AJ, I tell you what, you brought this to my attention actually earlier today about the performance that he had against University.
Yeah, I mean, it was a top 10 matchup. University versus EG, it was a top 10 matchup. And when you could help your team dominate in the fashion that they did, winning 40-7, and you have 18 tackles, 11 solos, 2 sacks, I mean, you deserve all the credit of helping that victory. So, yeah, he's definitely a dude.
All right, so let's move on to our Influencer Casual special teams dudes. And we don't have one. We got 2 from Ocoee. Kamani Robinson had an 87-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. And we talked about Xavier Tucker earlier on. He had a 93-yard kickoff return for a touchdown, Baylin.
Xavier Tucker seems to be a name we're mentioning a lot on this show. I'm excited. I honestly, I don't know much about him until we started doing the show this year. That kid right there, I hope he has offers, because every single week this kid does something spectacular, whether it's a game-winning catch or a kickoff return that separates a close game. Something spectacular when that ball's in his hands is going to happen. And then Kamani Robinson, awesome. Obviously, an 87-yard kickoff return for a touchdown is not easy to do. When you have 2 guys that have 2 kickoff returns, you're probably not losing that football game, because that's also 1/3 of the game. And if they're getting 14 points just on special teams, that is special for a program, especially against a team like Lake Wales. Whoever the special teams coordinator is for Seminole needs to be given a shout out, because I feel like they're doing something special every week on special teams. So whatever they're doing, they're spending a lot of good time on that and being well coached in that department. And it does help when you have two freak athletes, the ones returning the ball for you. But great job to both players. It's the first time in a long time that we've given two people in the same category and from the same team the dude of the week. So great job to both those guys, and I cannot wait to see what they do the rest of the way.
AJ, it was funny. We were talking about that Lake Wales game a few minutes ago, and Baylin said it. Every time they scored, pop, they kicked off return for a touchdown, took the air right out of their sails. It was these guys.
Yeah. Kamani Robinson had a big return. So is Xavier Tucker. But yeah, Seminole special teams unit is just phenomenal, because I know Juan Burchell, he also has a couple returns on the season. So when you have these dynamic athletes, but Xavier Tucker, he's not new to this. He led Olympia in receiving yards the last 2 seasons. So he's not new to this. Neither is Kamani Robinson. He rushed for over 1,200 yards on the state championship team at Mainland. So you got dudes at Seminole. So I'm not surprised. Yeah, those boys ballers.
I tell you what, guys, let's get right into the brand new Big Hits Live Top 10. And let's start, man. DeLand Bulldogs now at number 10 at 4-1, guys, followed by Edgewater at 3-2. Bishop Moore is at that 8th spot at 4-0. They got a big game this week, hopefully. Lake Mary falls to number 7 at 2-2. Eau Gallie at 6 at 4-0. Dr. Phillips at 4-0. TFA at 4-0 at number 4. Cocoa now drops from number 1 to number 3 at 3-2. Seminole at 4-0, and Jones now takes that top spot at 4-0, Baylin. You're muted, buddy.
Sorry about that. Yeah, so a little bit of movement there. Seminole starting to climb to the number 2 spot. That was something that we talked about all last year. They're actually, I believe, number 1 and 2 periodically throughout last year. They kind of went down after that Jones whipping, but now they're starting to climb their way back, being well-respected, beating ranked teams in the state of Florida in convincing fashion. Regardless of what the score says is close or not, they're dominating their football games. Cocoa slips to 3, obviously 3-2, but they're still in our top 3 because of the quality of losses. Again, we're not looking at records, guys, like a lot of people look at. We look at the quality of wins and losses. Any one of these teams in our top 10 would probably lose to Venice, so let's not even get that confused there. That is a powerhouse program that they lost by 3, and, of course, IMG. So I don't think there's a team on our top 10 that can compete with IMG, and I'm going to be honest. So we look at everything factored in our rankings. TFA, that's the one that's like weird, because could they beat any of those top 3 teams? I mean, the way that they're playing right now, one would argue they could. So that's going to be interesting to see, especially when they play Seminole in a couple weeks. So that's going to solidify that question. Dr. Phillips, they could easily be a top 3 team. That big win against Lake Mary, they were a top 3 program. But again, can we see them beating Cocoa? Probably not. Seminole, probably not. Jones, who knows, right? So interesting, but Dr. Phillips is an elite talent. They could probably compete with those guys. I mean, so those are really the ones that stick out to me. Eau Gallie obviously keeps climbing. Lake Mary, that was tough, man. That was a tough one to watch. And then Bishop Moore, and they got some, they play St. Thomas Aquinas. They beat those guys this week, guys. Their butts might be in the top 3 just because of the quality of win, right? So Edgewater, climbing, and DeLand, welcome to the top 10. So that's pretty much my thoughts. But yeah, those 1 through 5, it'd be interesting to see if they actually played each other, how that would all end up.
AJ, we've got a few other teams that we got our eyeball on. Let's talk about West Orange at 4-0 right now.
Yeah, West Orange undefeated, 4-0. They got a big-time matchup this week, so we'll see what happens. But West Orange is a team that, let's be honest, no one saw them being undefeated at this point in the season. They're flying under the radar. But going back to this top 10, Baylin, I personally think Cocoa is a good team. But at the end of the day, they've shown some holes. They've shown weaknesses. I think that the gap between the TFA, the Dr. Phillips, and the EG is a lot smaller between them and the top 3 teams.
So do you think any of those teams could beat Cocoa?
I think TFA could. They got enough talent to beat any team on this roster. And so does Dr. Phillips. You're talking about teams these teams are sending anytime you have teams sending multiple guys to college, play football the next season, you have a shot. When you have a quarterback that is going to play college football, he gives your team a shot. Dr. Phillips has that. Dr. Phillips has several positions that will be playing college. So they got talent too. This Florida, like it just ain't Cocoa, but it's other. Same thing with EG. EG got a defensive lineman that's going to LSU.
Yeah.
Cocoa got JVR Hilson, but if we be honest, they also have a defensive end who's going to play college football. They have a better D line. So like EG, that's a good team too.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we will not see Eau Gallie and Cocoa play this year. But I also want to bring something up. Lake Mary still has to play Seminole and Bishop Moore before the end of the year, guys.
Yeah, I mean, Lake Mary has probably the easiest way to climb back up because, again, they do play some of these guys in our top 10. And, you know, if they dominate, obviously, if they play Seminole, beat them, they'll climb just because Seminole's so highly ranked. But, again, that's the he say or she say. We'll get to those predictions during that week to see where these guys are even at. So, that's why I love this top 10. I love talking about it. And, you know, people want to take it personal. That's cool. Go win. Just win games. That's it.
My fear for Lake Mary right now is honestly they have some key injuries. Number 5, Parker, their receiver, he got hurt. The outside linebacker, 22, he got just a strong safety. He got down. He's going to be down for a while.
Yep.
You talking about 2 seniors. 32 got hurt. Like we saw a couple players get hurt that will be hurt for an extended period of time. So I just hope that they could hang in there, to be honest with you.
I did saying that in the pregame show because Lake Mary came out with 5 injuries, and all 5 of those guys are their top players. When you take that away, it gives Dr. Phillips a chance. Now, again, I'm not taking away from Dr. Phillips. They deserve that win. They earned it. But that did hurt, obviously, offensively for those guys because those all played key roles offensively. Number 32, number 5, those guys played the same exact position, and both of them went down. So, I mean, it was tough to watch. But, again, Dr. Phillips played a heck of a football game, and that's why they're in our top 5.
Yeah, and there's 2 more programs I want to give a shout-out to, even though one's an independent, okay? How about Windermere at 5-0?
Love it. Absolutely love it. Jack Riley, quarterback. I'm telling you, that's the sleeper. He was at West Orange last year. Everybody wanted to talk about West Orange and how they, you know, the best roster, wasn't winning games. Jack Riley is the real deal. I don't care what nobody says. I've seen the kid work. He trains with me. He came all the way from Chicago, bet on himself. The kid's lighting it up. I talk to Ricky Smith pretty much every Friday. He loves the kid. The kid's just a great kid. And I mean, when you're averaging 40 points a game at Windermere, when's the last time? Dude, they haven't even won 4 games in a season, let alone score that many points probably in their history. And yet they've already accomplished 5-0, which is the best season they've ever had. And they're averaging 40 points a game behind Jack Riley's 13 touchdowns this year. So unbelievable stats. I think he's on pace to have 25 to 30 touchdowns. Windermere, I love them. I hope they do well, and I hope they get out of the independent league soon because I think they can compete, especially when they start doing redistricting and those guys from Olympia and Dr. Phillips might start coming in. You know, that could change that program, especially in that area they're in.
Yeah, and AJ, I tell you what, another part of that Windermere offense, CJ Bronow, man. Finally healthy and contributing. Yeah. Had a big game as well.
Yeah, he had a big game. I mean, you talking about one of the fastest kids in the state. So, yeah, anytime you can get speed like that, the ball, that's a good thing for your program. So, yeah. Shout out to Willie.
26 guy, man. Another 26 guy. All right, guys, our top 3 in our private schools. MCC's at number 3 at 3-1. Mount Dora Christian, 5-0. Masters Academy at number 1, 5-0. They're going to go head-to-head here in a few weeks, guys. I can't wait for that. Also, big shout-out. How about Geneva? Coach Dave Langdon, second year, they're 4-1 in 8-man football. And Coach tells me, man, they got so many kids now, they may be forced to move to 11-man football here in the SSAA here moving forward. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we got our Week 6 predictions. You're watching the Central Florida High School Scoreboard Show. We'll be back right after this. All right, welcome back to the Central Florida High School Scoreboard Show. I'm Dan LaForest. That's Baylin Trujillo and AJ Brooks. Guys, we got some big games. I pray we get them off. We're going to have to wait and see how the storm pans out, whether we have school here in Central Florida here on Friday. That's going to determine whether or not we have games on Friday night. But we got some good matchups here. Let's start with our first one here. Wekiva at 2-3 heads over to Oviedo. Big district matchup, 3-1. Baylin.
Yeah, I like Oviedo in this matchup. I believe offensively they're rolling. Definitely a different football team than what I saw in the preseason when they played Lake Mary and got blasted. Wekiva obviously trying to figure out what their identity is offensively. They'll have a really good game and then have an off night. So it's like the inconsistency on offense is what really concerns me with Wekiva. Obviously, first-year program under Doug Gabriel. So they're going to get things rolling eventually. I think that's a rebuild program. So look forward to them in a couple of years. But as of right now, today, I'm definitely picking Oviedo to win this game comfortably by a couple scores. And I just think that Oviedo is a team that we're going to probably talk about in the next couple of weeks, and they might slip into a top 10 scenario.
I tell you what, I was about to say that, AJ.
Yeah, you're looking at Oviedo. You talk about a team that went 10-2 the last 2 years that lost in the second round to Jones. So, like, it's not like this is a bad team. I do like Oviedo in this matchup as well. You mentioned Doug Gabriel, first-year head coach this year at Wekiva. So it's a building program right now. But Oviedo's, they're already there. So I will give Oviedo the advantage in this matchup.
Yeah, I tell you what, Oviedo lost a lot of seniors last year. All right, guys, big matchup. Ed White comes down from Jacksonville, 3-1, takes on the Merritt Island Mustangs, 4-1. Baylin.
Whoa. You got my prediction wrong. Check your text messages. I am definitely picking Ed White in this football game. I love Merritt Island. Yeah, no chance. I will show you the text messages live here. If you could go back, Dan, I will show it right now.
All right, calm down.
I did my research on Ed White, and they are real. Look at their schedule and who they played. They are for real. And Merritt Island has squeaked by at 4-1. This is a real test for them. I do believe Ed White will win this football game, Dan and AJ. Do not get me in a scenario where you're going to say I repicked right before kickoff. So we are going that way, both guys. Ed White.
Duly noted. That graphic will be updated for our show next week to see if you guys are right.
Do I get credit for the DP, though?
You see Ed White under DeLand.
All right, I see it there, Baylin. You're right. I'm wrong. Okay.
We both going Ed White. Yeah, we both going Ed White.
All right, another big one here. This is that Volusia County matchup versus Flagler. Palm Coast is 4-0, guys. Heads over. University wants to rebound in a very bad way, Baylin.
Yeah, I know AJ.
Oh, you ain't Flagler, man.
No, man. Malachi Walters, that's the reason. I don't believe that they're going to have another performance, 40-7. A loss. I think they're going to come and they might actually win this game 40-14 or 40-21. I think that OC University has something to prove. I think Malachi Walkers has a breakout game against Flagler Palm Coast. Looking at both records and quality of wins, OC is just more impressive. So I'm going to go that route. I'm not going to go based off an eye test. I'm going to go on facts, and I believe OC University wins comfortably in this game.
AJ?
Yeah, I'm going with OC to bounce back, Malachi Walters, Jermaine Haynes, Barrett Schultz and company. I think they get a nasty taste in their mouth from last week, and I think they take it out on Flagler Palm Coast at the crib.
All right, let's get down to number 4. How about East River, 2-3?
Come on, man.
Playing Innovation at 3-2, the brand new school. Man, Coach Kennard, they got them at over 500 right now. Baylin.
Coach Chappell, I think East River is just a better football team than Innovation. And the only reason why I say that is doing my research, they both have one common opponent, Oak Ridge. Oak Ridge beat Innovation and East River beat Oak Ridge. So I'm going East River here. I think they're going to be a better football team just based off that stat. So, yeah, AJ, I'm sorry, but I'm not going again based off records. I'm just going based on facts. And East River beat Oak Ridge and Oak Ridge beat Innovation. So I'm going East River this week.
All right, AJ.
Yeah, you're smart, man. I do think that East River will win this game. I think it'll be a good matchup. Like you mentioned, Coach Kennard has Innovation, first-year program, over 500, 3-2. But I think East River will get back to 500, and they'll win this matchup.
All right. I like both of these programs right now. We had to throw one we haven't talked about yet. Here's another one. Spruce Creek at 3-2, heading to our new number 10 team, DeLand. Baylin.
Yeah. The Moore kid. Taj Moore.
Yeah.
The Moore kid.
That kid,
The other Moore kid.
He's only a freshman. That kid right there is elite. He's special. And I'm not going to say he's better than TJ because I trained TJ, but that kid right there is on pace to be a power 4 running back, athlete, whatever you want to do for him. I mean, he's a freshman right now running all over these defenses. Imagine what that's going to look like in 3 years. So, my goodness, DeLand is a team that you guys, I will not take credit for this. You guys saw early and was like, that's a team to watch out for. Again, I was based it on the quarterback loss. I thought he was a big part of the reason why DeLand was special in the last couple of years. But clearly they got
He was.
Yeah. But I'm saying I didn't do my research big enough, and they got a transferred quarterback right before fall camp, so that really helped them. And they're rolling right now. And so I'm taking DeLand. Their only loss was against a really good team up in the Panhandle area. I'm not picking DeLand to lose this football game, and they win in convincing fashion. Darlington and company's got them rolling, baby.
AJ, we already knew, though, early in the year, this is a very young team. So it's kind of like exciting to see what they're doing, but what's scary is what they're going to be.
Yeah, this team just going to keep getting better and better because their best players are freshmen. Like Taj Moore, that's TJ's younger brother. So he's seen this story for the last couple of years. Since Coach Darlington has gotten there, they told TJ he should transfer. He did not transfer. He stayed the course. TJ's playing college football right now today. And his little brother is that classic story of, I'm going to be better than you. I'm going to just call it right now. He's going to take the mantle of the family as a freshman. But I love DeLand in this matchup. Spruce Creek, I like the team, but after that tough loss on the road, they just don't look the same. And I think DeLand's going to take advantage of them.
All right. We got an SAA showdown. Providence comes down from Jacksonville to play TMA. 5-0. Coach Kruzek got the Eagles roaring right now. Baylin. You're muted again, Baylin. Which I love half the time, to be honest with you.
Why do you keep muting? What are you doing over there?
Oh, I'm not touching nothing. It might be Dan just muting me because he doesn't know what's going to come out of my mouth. But let's go back to this prediction. This is the game that's going to dictate who takes the lead in this prediction because we're tied going into this week. This is probably the only game that we have separated here. So, yeah, 5-0 Masters. Providence is the team that gave Masters a big problem last year. I believe they handed them 2 losses, maybe 1 loss. I do know they did beat Masters last year. So, I know they have a bad taste in their mouth. I like what Masters is doing offensively. I think they're better offensively this year than they were last year. I do think that they beat them. Jackson, Stetcher, and company. It's going to roll into Providence and give them their second loss because they don't know what losing tastes like. So they're just going to keep on winning and keep on rolling to another state title.
Yeah, we've been talking about freshmen all night. You know, Jackson Sketchers is also a freshman. I mean, he was an 8th grader last year, taking them to a state championship, AJ.
Yeah, I love the freshman Jackson at QB, but I'm going to go with Providence because they have a senior quarterback, Mason Williams, 6'2", 230. I mean, that's going to be a lot. He's a dynamic athlete. That's going to be a lot to handle, and I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I love Jackson, and I love what he brings, but if you also go look at Providence offensive line, you'll see dudes. They got some dudes like 280, 290. So I'm thinking in the trenches, that's where it's going to get real.
All right. Big rivalry game here. The Blue Darters at 3-2 head over to West Orange. We talked about them being 4-0, Baylin.
Yeah, I mean, I love West Orange. Brian Dillard, AJ Chung, the dual quarterback system they got going there is obviously working. It's like Dillard will go out, throw 2 touchdowns, and line up a receiver, and AJ will throw him a touchdown. So, like, Brian is really offensively what they're got, and their secondary is elite. I think AJ alluded to them earlier in the year when we talked about West Orange. That is a great secondary. I believe there's a Michigan commit. The safety should have stayed probably at Notre Dame, but the kid's a great talent. Ike Taylor Jr., I believe, Ike Taylor's son. Ivan Taylor.
Ivan.
Yeah, so, unbelievable talent. But this could be a trap game. I think Apopka can come and sneak one away in this matchup just from a mental standpoint. I obviously picked West Orange to win this game, but I don't think Apopka can go away and they could potentially win this football game, guys. And if they win this game, like Dan said, that second half of the season, they might turn it around, but they do got some tough schedule in that back half of the season for Apopka.
AJ?
Yeah, I mean, I love Apopka. I love the program. But when you mentioned Ivan Taylor, you mentioned Donovan Lanier, Devontae Anderson, they just got they got better athletes, in my personal opinion, for this matchup. So for that reason, I'm gonna go with West Orange.
All right. We'll see what happens if we get that game in. God, it's going to be tough when we have to start rescheduling games in the second half of the season. It's already stacking up with some great. We're in district play now in a lot of cases. Another big game, number 7, Lake Mary rebounding, going into Haggerty, man. Haggerty's 4-1, Baylin.
Yeah, behind Mitchell, Caden Mitchell, the not winningest because he's probably not, but he is the all-time leading passer in touchdowns, in yards in a single season, yards in a single game, touchdowns in a single game. We're talking about a program that had Jeff Driscoll, had the Bazinga guy right before Caden got there.
Yeah, Anthony.
We had so much good success at the quarterback position, and Caden walks in as a sophomore going into his junior year and says, I'm the guy. Like, I'm taking over this program, bet on himself, and Coach Q and company over there. I love that coaching staff. I believe Coach Michael's over there. They are showing something that's special. And with Caden Mitchell at quarterback, that's why they're 4-1. He continues to light it up every week. But on the flip side, you got Noah Grubbs and company. I am not taking Lake Mary to lose this football game against Haggerty. Haggerty has nothing to lose in this football game. Lake Mary literally has everything to lose in this football game. And when you have a wounded tiger or a wounded lion that's trying to feast, just like Edgewater felt like last week, I believe we're going to see a similar game in this one. I believe Lake Mary takes care of business and rolls. Now, injuries may play a key factor in this game. I don't know the status of those guys that were injured. I'm hoping that everyone's healthy on both sides of the coin here, but I just believe when you have Noah Grubbs out there throwing to Brian and throwing to Tyree, which we're waiting to see when his breakout game is going to be, and then you got the running back Isaiah Thomas, I just think they're just way too much behind that offensive line that, again, has yet to let Noah get hit at all in a game in almost 2 years. So with that and all those factors, district play at stake here, Lake Mary rolls.
AJ.
Yeah, we got a wounded ram here in this scenario. I'm gonna go with Lake Mary as well. I think Isaiah Thomas is the key for this matchup. With those injuries, yeah, you're injured at the wide receiver position. So what better thing to do than give your 1,500-yard rusher from last season the ball? Get a man the ball 20 to 25 times a game, you win the ball game easily.
Yeah, I think this is going to be an interesting game. And the other, we're going to be talking about another matchup. We talked about Oviedo. What a matchup for two great teams that are really on a good momentum, that hometown showdown here in a few weeks. All right, let's talk about the Varsity Sports Nation game of the week. If this happens Friday night, it's going to be live on Varsity Sports Nation. St. Thomas Aquinas, one of the best teams in the state at 4-1, comes into College Park to take on the undefeated Hornets, Baylin.
Dan, are you okay, man?
I'm having a hard.
St. Thomas Aquinas is on my screen. There's no way I'm picking Bishop Moore to win this football game. You tried me on this one, man, and I love Bishop Moore. Don't do that because you're trying to spin a narrative here. Because Bishop Moore doesn't like me from years past, always picking against them. But my goodness, there's no way.
Let me try something here. It does work. It actually does work.
There you go. See, you're trying to set me up here. But no, St. Thomas Aquinas will win this football game. I really hope Bishop Moore comes and fights. I know that's AJ's alumni. I love Bjorn. I hate this because I want to give credit to Bishop Moore and how great they are as a team. But when we talk about St. Thomas, who can go into anybody's backyard, knock on their back door and say, come play for us, there's no way Bishop Moore can compete with guys like that in the city of Miami. So they always get the
Fort Lauderdale.
I mean, yeah, whatever. Broward County, whatever. But it's St. Thomas Aquinas, the elite of the elites. There's no way I'm texting Dan LaForest Bishop Moore here, even though I would love the upset here, obviously, because they're Central Florida. But from a realistic standpoint, this would be a massive upset if Bishop Moore does this.
I've got to hire somebody to do edits because obviously I'm in a rush trying to get all this done. People don't realize.
You're going to change my picks?
Baylin, I wish that I could just show up and do an hour show. I really would. So we'll get that changed for next week. But guys, no, it's listen, we've got some great matchups. It's going to be exciting going into this week 6. You know, we're over the hump. We're in the long stretch. Next week, we're going to start breaking down the playoff scenarios as part of the show. So we want to start taking a look at what the playoffs start looking like here as we head toward the end of the season, and we're going to start doing that. But we're going to get this thing done. Baylin, final thoughts.
Man, I'm just excited for what's to come in the next several weeks because now it's district play. All these games really do matter when it comes to where you seeded are in the playoffs, obviously making the playoffs in some districts when there's more than 2 teams to compete for a district. But, man, just stay safe. You know, obviously we don't ever want to downplay a hurricane, whether it's going to hit Central Florida, the West Coast, East Coast, down south, and the Panhandle. Obviously football's fun. We want the games to happen, but safety is the most important. And so stay safe, be smart, don't go outside, stay inside. Relax, recover, guys. If you're battling through injuries, it's your time to go take your ice baths that you're not taking every week. Go say your prayers, get in the Word of God, and stay focused, stay sharp. Get on top of your academics, and remember, most importantly, stay safe through this time that we're going to have the next couple of days.
All right, AJ.
Hey, man, that was Baylin. That was a good message. I got nothing more than that. What Baylin said, stay safe. Hopefully we can see some games Friday. But if not, we'll be back next week, same time. Hey, Dan, what's our slogan? We got to do our slogan, bro. What's up, man?
All right, here we go. We may not be right,
but I know we ain't wrong.
There we go. Hey, guys, again, prayers to the Gulf Coast. We wish everybody to come out of this as safe as possible. And again, I want to reiterate what Baylin said. Stay home tomorrow. Don't be out messing around. Stay home. And let's pray that we're all safe coming out of this thing. Obviously, I don't think we're going to get a whole lot here tomorrow here in Central Florida. It's going to be a lot of rain, a little bit of wind. Hopefully the wind keeps powers right. But let's stay safe. Let's get ready for Friday night football. And I'll be at the Bishop Moore St. Thomas Aquinas game on Friday night. Guys, let's get ready to go. You're watching Central Florida High School Scoreboard Show for Baylin Trujillo, Grayson Trujillo, and AJ Brooks. We'll see you next week.